think of Post Malone, the singer, as John Blacksmith is because, for one thing, I like his video he did of Rockstar. It's ballsy, and he's been in some movies, and I've seen him act, and just like all the rappers and things like that and musicians, he can hold his own. But remember, this is kind of a popcorn horror comedy kind of thing, a fun, you go back to movies like Lost Boys, those fun summer. Are you done telling me the ways? Those fun summer horror films, I love Lost Boys, man. It was fucking great. It was great. It was just great. A lot of fun, It's fun to kind of lose yourself and not have to worry. Actually, it's kind of my favorite thing, to be honest, because of how I am. I mean, the first time I saw Laurence Olivier and Hamlet, it brought me to another world, And it was all mostly language. Oh, it's a bright light. It's mostly language, that this guy was doing. Another reason for Post Malone, too. I think he can handle some of this colloquial language that I have. I know Gary Oldman's a genius. He can handle anything. So, and seeing those two, for some reason, I don't know, it'd just be interesting. Let me get the shot of the sun right here. The sunburst. Through the script, many of the times I do say the shadow of the creature or shadow of the werewolf. There's a Bergman film called Shadow of the Wolf. So Shadow of the Werewolf would be nice. I know that Grace could be a title. Werevlog would be ballsy. Grace, aka Werevlog, would definitely have a character to it. But those titles change. I mean, think of Tom Hanks. The other movie, they changed the original book title, A Man Called Ova. They changed it to A Man Called Otto, O-T-T-O. So they have the reasoning, but I just want to throw those other things out. Grace alone is good. Grace, a.k.a. Werevlog, is good. I'm calling it that now so it has that distinct title. So when you see Grace, a.k.a. Werevlog, you're getting the idea, Shadow of the Werewolf is an option. I don't know. Have to see. These are things that you sit down and you talk about and you have like a little discussion. You kind of have like a little argument. What are we going to call it? Originally, Tennessee Williams, the poker game, it got its name, Streetcar Named Desire. It was originally called the poker game. Probably Shadow of the Werewolf would be a pretty good title. The shadow is an important aspect. You do see the shadow of the werewolf. So, you do see a shadow. It's an interesting kind of thing. To bring attention to the strange, unusual fog at the complex, if you look at the print in the mud, it looks like a hind leg of an animal's hind leg, as if it landed and then took flight again. And that steam stayed around there, fog, whatever you want to call it, I think it was fog, for the entire time of the delivery. Now, we can all argue and say that it was probably some kind of piping issue with hot water, because it was about 33 degrees Fahrenheit, and steam does immensely produce like that, but not to that consistent level. Whether if it was a hot water thing or some kind of thing, I don't know. But look at the print, though. I like that. That print alone kind of spooked me out. It didn't look like a dog print or like any type of manly print or anything. It was almost kind of structural, like a hind leg from an animal. So it didn't have the toes or anything. It just had like a slant print that went into the mud. And it did spook me out a little bit because of all the fog that was there. It reminded, immediately I thought of Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. And I was like, what in the world is this? What is this? And my imagination grew wild. I love this little English pebblestone thing right here. It's very, very English or Irish, if you look at it right here. But it was very strange when I saw that print. And there's a dog right there. And we don't have 100% proof. We're not 100% sure about the werewolf and the vampire myth. We're not 100% proof. We can't say, well, I know for sure werewolves don't exist. And other people are like, well, I'm 100% dinosaurs weren't around either. You know, there could be a big argument. Why is the myth of the werewolf, the lycanthropy, why is the lycanthrope missed? Why is the lycanthropy story? Why is there a lycanthropy story, you know? Why is there a curse? You know, that's when we go, oh, okay, well, let's start talking about the Garden of Eden. So there is something. And why is the proof of that important? Because that's when we start believing in angels and possibly even demons, you know. Is a werewolf another form of a demon? It's certainly a curse. Now, in my story, in the curse, you can still have salvation with the curse. It's not your fault that you got bit or whatever. You can still have salvation. It's just a curse you have to deal with. You'll see, my friends. You got to see the sequel too. But it's part of all of this. The thing of the curse. They probably talked about it in Dracula. Have you ever seen Dracula? Bram Stoker especially. It's not something that you write, for sure, as a writer. You're not the one writing it. It writes itself. Stephen King has talked about how he unravels the stories. He digs them up. He literally, like he's digging a story up as we speak, probably. So you don't write it. It's already there. You have to find the story. Literally. You literally find the story. 100%. Note to Grace. The physical form never wins. It's the power of the story that overcomes that. Go to notes to screenwriter. They don't owe you a movie, right? First you have to ask the actors, then you have to give them the script. But they don't, it's not like just because you write it, you're like, oh, you know, I've written it. Let's cash the check. It depends on how hard you work on it. And, you know, it can take time depending on your work ethic and what you dedicate things to. So you can write it, but you know, they don't owe it. But a man is paid for the work that he does. So there's mental labor and there's manual labor. And the actor understands the manual labor of things. And he understands the mental labor. I do suggest to add notes. Do make notes to your screenplay, and you want to treat it exactly as you would an actor if you're watching a performance. So you want to talk to your screenplay just like you would an actor if you've ever been a director. You'll sit there and watch an actor's performance, and you'll go, okay, we need this, we need that, we need this, we need that. We need this. and depending on the actor, you know. More color, Mr. Oldman. The lines, the lines, the lines. Worth has grown so incredibly much. I am amazed at how modern it works and looks. And I used to live right there at the Modern Art Museum before they turned it into what's known as, well, the Modern Art Museum. It was once an apartment complex. I used to live there and work there, right there. I watched a lot of David Letterman when I lived in that apartment off at Darnell. I don't know why. Not a lot. I mean, I just watched him every night. But that was back when I was watching like television, you know. And I felt like David Letterman was talking to me sometimes. It was really weird. This is back when he had those early interviews with Harmony Korine. Those are the greatest interviews on the planet, man. Him and Harmony Korine talking. David Letterman, man. That was the show to be on, you know. Now he's like Netflix. That was the show. It was the Letterman show. What other show would you want to be on? You know, you wouldn't want to really be on The Tonight Show. I mean, you certainly would, but, you know, I mean, like, okay, Jane Leno, okay, that's fine. It's David Letterman that all the artists and actors and writers wanted to be on. Because he was funny. And he was just waiting to make fun of you, you know? Especially Harmony Korine. Those are my favorite interviews of all. I can watch those interviews all day long. I've never seen anything so amazing. And Harmony is just like laughing and just talking smack, you know, about Tom Cruise playing a midget. It's just, that's art, you know. That's when when I saw those interviews, we heard Harmony Korine was always a mystery. You know, we saw Gummo, was like, who is this guy, you know? What in the world? What is this stuff, you know? And then David Letterman is just having a ball.
Approaching a railroad crossing.
With him, big smiles. And because, you know, what was he have to lose, you know? These screenplay ideas and these movie ideas, you know? It's the two guys, man. It's Harmony Korine and David Lynch, man. Those are the two interviews to watch. Oh, they have Serious Pizza. We're actually not going to Serious Pizza, though. We're going over here past the flower market to pick up some ramen right under Crockett Row on West 7th, right over there. It's actually called Crockett Row, the whole thing right there. I was never there when David Letterman was doing those interviews in New York. Those buildings are all new. All of this is new. It's kind of crazy. There's Velvet Taco right there.
Yeah, I would. Did you ever send it? No, you're good.
Whatever.
That's kind of like once you got one, you don't need another one.
Cross Fox Street. Fox Street. What sign is on Cross?
You're this way because you're a Christian, not because of a good or bad thing. And because you're already purchased. So you are good to go. But we're gonna cross a cool bridge coming up here. It's purple for the frogs, the horny frogs, as they call them, or the horned frogs. TCU. This is a great bridge. I did a little short film and feature based on some of this bridge here called the West 7th Bridge. A playwright friend of mine did a scene about right there in a movie called Once in a Lifetime, and also known as, I believe it was in The Way of Man. We had 3 shorts that we did, From Now Until Morning, The Way of Man, and That Side. That Side was shot in Irving, but this, The Way of Man, was filmed here. We say filmed, but we mean digitally recorded. But filmed is so much easier to say. The whole side by side. You know, the digital and the film. The film stock, as they say. As the werewolf hunter says. We used to do movies on film, using film stock and film rolls. The 35mm film. As I hear that little clicking noise inside the camera. It's like a painting, dear boy. Like a painting. Some of them are. But hey, don't be scared about, don't be thrown off about the digital thing. Don't be let down. Some of these digital films are fantastic. I hear Lynch, he's only digital. It's all digital. I think the Fellini, if Fellini was around, he was doing all digital. This is the purple light sequence of my movie. What they call home movie, they just call it a movie. Regardless, the word movie is in it. That it still is, my friend. It still is a movie.
Approaching a railroad crossing.
And we know we're approaching a railroad crossing ways. Look at this bridge. Turning your love around. I saw Being there. I gotta watch the last 20 minutes or last 35 minutes or so of it with a man named Peter Sellers, directed by Hal Ashby, who also did Harold and Maude. Hal Ashby did. It's one of my favorite movies is Harold and Maude. My mom introduced me to that movie. My mom's a big fan of Rebecca, which I need to rent that from the Library, which is an Alfred Hitchcock movie. I think it's my mom's favorite movie. I've seen clips of it. There's so many movies. I'm only watching classics, my dear boy. Only classics. I only have these moments, and I love the classics. We watched The Warriors, and I watched Being There last night. The Warriors, and Linda and I watched it, and we loved it. We laughed. It was great. It was great. Walter Hill, director. We'll see the pink. I mean the purple. Can you dig it? For The Warriors, 1979, and for Being There, 1979 too. Both 1979. Might as well listen to the video. Smashing Pumpkins, 1979. But both were done in 1979. Were released in 1979. Being There and The Warriors, which is, you'll see the green light right here. Both were released in 1979. Great year for cinema. Love The Warriors, and also I love Being There. Being There I'm going to watch more of. It's Peter Sellers' genius performance of a man known as Chauncey Gardner. Plays the gardener of the old man. Doesn't know really even how he got there. He says very simple things, and he gets put on television and everyone thinks he's genius. He says things like, soon it will be spring. Then the fall. Then we'll have winter. And everyone's just like, what is it talking about? He tries to turn people off with a remote control because he watches TV constantly. He carries around a remote control, tries to turn people off with a remote control, as if he's going to make them disappear or change the channel. Peter Sellers proved his true, nearly method style acting, this major control with his eyes, where his eyes went in that movie is amazing. Very still, very controlled. It's a role that the actor has to watch, because I don't know if he could have pulled it off without using the film camera because of the control.